So we're here to talk about Tapestry. Can you tell me how long you've been using Tapestry at Hanwell Fields?
We've been using it about 4 years in total.
In what sorts of ways?
So we use it in various different ways. To share learning at home, so celebrate children's achievements, things they learn to do, like riding their bike for the first time. They share their interests by show and tell. We gain a really big picture of the child, all the things that they love, their family life, family members. We send home homework and letters.
Sort of sharing wow moments. We get lots of parent feedback from it, celebrations. We do lots of transition stuff, so the children go up to year 1 and the children coming in from nursery as well.
One of our biggest things that we've started introducing is to introduce training videos to parents, so they can be within the classroom from home. They can see the way that we've taught something each week, and they can mirror that with their children in their own environment, so we give ideas of how to implement them within their home. And
can you give us a particular example of that? That sounds really interesting.
So most recently we've been videoing how we would hold a sentence with the children, how we talk about capital letters and finger spaces, how we encourage children to squeeze the sounds onto their fingers and write it down. And we model that as a lesson by the video. It's spoken directly to the parent, and we talk them through the language and vocabulary that we use. And then we give them suggestions of how they could use that at home. For example, we suggest that they clear out the fridge or daddy's shed, and they label it up using those strategies at home.
And how long will those videos typically be?
Not long, usually about 4 or 5 minutes, depending on the content. So some of them are faster than others.
And that's probably important, is it, the length of the video? Do you have any sort of set time that you would video for? Is there sort of a period that you've sort of said it's got to be less than a certain amount of minutes?
Currently we haven't, no, we're just trying to get the content in at the moment, but we have, we've just sent off to get parental feedback to see what the parents feel is long enough for them.
And is that one of the questions you've asked, Ballet?
Yeah.
Excellent. So what reactions have you had, talking about parents, from your use of Tapestry? Because over the 4 years, have you used it more or less?
We've certainly adapted the way that we've used it since lockdown, and the way in which we've used it is very different. So we've used it in more variation.
Yeah, I think we started off, when we first started using it, it was more to show parents what we were doing. And I think gradually we've realised that it's just as much going back the other way. So we really use it a lot to see what the children are doing at home, to help us build a bigger picture. It's just become much more flexible.
Are there any families that are hard to reach, and if so, what have you done to make sure that it's a tool that you can use with all of your families?
That's still something we're struggling with, to be honest. The main thing that seems to work best is the show and tell element. By sort of promoting that with the children in the classroom, we actually find the children that aren't using it will go home and sort of badger their parents. You know, I want to be on Tapestry, I need to be on Tapestry. And we do all we can to sort of approach parents outside and help them to access it. Because quite often one of the points that our parents have found quite difficult getting onto it is literally just going through the process of clicking the link and setting up the password, because the passwords can be quite long.
Moving forward, what we have done for our new transition is already made a guidance video, and sent home instructions to our new families and families coming through to us from nursery, to try and get them on board now before the start of the term, so that if there are anything that they're struggling with now, we can iron that out before September. So we've already put that in place last week.
Excellent. Tell us a bit about how you've used Tapestry to support the recovery and catch up for the children and the content they might have missed over COVID and lockdown.
So the parent videos that we talked about earlier has been a key kind of new element of that, trying to model where we're finding there are gaps in learning and unpicking that for parents at home.
You've also used it for long-term illness, haven't you?
Yeah, so children who are away from school or who cannot access us, so we've used that to communicate, so they have the social side, which is so key in early years, is that communication between the children, so they can draw pictures for that friend and we Tapestry it to them, and they reply, have conversations and dialogue, as well as the elements of learning that they're missing out on. And we are currently in the process of setting up our big 6 via a Tapestry book club, so setting up groups of say 4 to 6 parents who are going to discuss a text that we've modelled via video, and they use the Tapestry to comment and share ideas. That's come as a way of engaging them and catching up on some of the lower areas of our data at the moment.
Going back to the mention of the Big Six, do you want to just explain what you mean by the Big Six?
So 6 key texts that we want all children to have read before they leave early years.
And so the last question is, are there any specific examples you can share where Tapestry's had the most impact? You mentioned data, and I know it's not all about data, but certainly over lockdown you used Tapestry a lot. So when the children have come back, what have you noticed about the impact it's had?
I think it's certainly from, not necessarily to do with lockdowns so much, but from some of my children that don't tend to speak, where they'll speak quite a bit at home, but I never tend to hear them. It's been really nice to use Tapestry as a tool where the parents send in videos of the children speaking, and actually we've kind of conversed over those videos, so I've sent more videos back to those children, whereas in the classroom they wouldn't necessarily have a conversation with me. In that respect, they are chatting, and I get to know more about what they can say and what they can do, and I get a big picture.
I think a really big thing as well has been the relationship that we've built with our families via it, and because they've actually seen what we're like as teachers, and we've been able to show them, that we're fun and we're we're approachable, the ways in which we teach, the ways we engage their children, and I think that's broken down quite a lot of barriers, and it's given them a real insight into actually the day in the life of their child, and that's really helped in so many different ways long term, and I think it's really built like a really strong communication between us, and having that dialogue and sharing and celebrating things with families. And on lockdown we were able to introduce them to things about us as people as well. So Mr. Will took out his dog for a walk and showed them how he washes the dog at the weekend, and that was all shared by Tapestry, which gave them an insight into real experiences that they can't go out and about on necessarily at the moment, or where we normally take them on a trip or a walk of the local environment. It's providing as close to those experiences as we can in the current times.
Thank you. And my last question then, for advice for anyone thinking going to set up Tapestry, what's the biggest pitfall that you fell into?
I think one of the things that made it harder for us to use Tapestry, I think, is parents not understanding having their children in other children's observations. Because if we're taking pictures and videos and things in the classroom, ideally we want everybody to be able to be in every photo so that we can send out the same thing, whereas some parents are kind of frightened off by that, aren't they? Thinking that their child's going to be here, there and everywhere. So it's just explaining to the parents exactly what it means for their child to be in other children's observations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.